In the wake of the storm, devastation in the Caribbean. Homes destroyed, lives shattered, some looting. The hurricane's top winds have been reduced somewhat. It is still generally in the direction of the U.S. mainland. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. The hurricane continues swirling toward the mainland United States at this hour. It's still a long way off. It, of course, could change direction, but right now it's closing in steadily on our mainland. This remains a very dangerous storm. It is potentially the most deadly of this decade. And forecasters caution that the hurricane could hit somewhere on the U.S. East Coast by the weekend. Let's take a look at the map for quick orientation. The Virgin Islands out there, Puerto Rico here, Cuba here, the mainland. Right now, the hurricane has moved from the Caribbean into the Atlantic. It's about 185 miles northeast of Grand Turk Island. The hurricane is moving toward the northwest at about 12 miles an hour. It's expected to pass north of the Turks and Caicos Islands, then skirt just north of the Bahamas, possibly sparing those islands a lot of damage, but increasing the chances that the hurricane will reach the U.S. mainland. As the big storm moved through the vacation islands of the eastern Caribbean, it killed at least 16 people by a conservative count and injured more than 100. Tens of thousands lost their homes. The storm scored a direct hit on the U.S. Virgin Islands. CBS News correspondent Juan Vasquez is on the scene in the U.S. Virgin Island of St. Croix.
The hurricane shattered St. Croix, leaving no corner of this tiny piece of America untouched. The picturesque old town of Christiansted is a disaster area. With communications destroyed, the island is isolated. Power lines are down, buildings demolished, the people dazed.
It looks like a war zone for all practical purposes.
The shortage of food and water is already critical. With much of the Caribbean reeling from the impact of Hurricane Hugo, no one has had time to get help to the 55,000 residents and tourists on beleaguered St. Croix.
The first things we would probably need would be staple foods. We would need some type of generating power, radio transmitters, the basic things. Water will be a big problem.
An aerial survey of St. Croix reveals entire neighborhoods wiped out by the storm. At least two-thirds of the homes seem to have suffered major damage. Relief workers are overwhelmed by the problems they face.
We're trying to come to grips with it, but we haven't been able to come to grips with successfully yet. There are a lot of homeless. I mean, I wouldn't even hazard a guess as the amount of homeless people.
At the Hess oil refinery, the winds were so powerful they ripped the tops off massive fuel tanks designed to withstand storms. Tiny Alexander Hamilton Airport was practically destroyed. The island makes its living off tourism, but this airport won't be receiving visitors anytime soon.
There is no law, there is no nothing.
Store owners and businessmen say looting has been rampant on St. Croix. As soon as the storm passed, they say, the looters moved in. In downtown Christiansted, many of the stores have been ransacked. With the police and National Guard preoccupied with relief and rescue work, the crime wave continues.
The looting here, what you see here, is totally out of control. The looting has been virtually by everybody from 2 to 90. There's just no stopping it. The police themselves have said it's out of control. The National Guard is not doing hardly anything about it.
Most of the hotels suffered significant damage. Many have been evacuated, and those that weren't lack electricity and running water. Hundreds of tourists are stranded. As long as the weather permits, the runway at the St. Croix Airport will remain open. Officials hope the first rescue and relief flights will land today, but no one here can say when commercial flights will resume. Juan Vasquez, CBS News, St. Croix.
Hurricane Hugo's highest sustained winds are now estimated at about 105 miles an hour. That is down from the 140 miles an hour tops of yesterday and the day before, but the hurricane, remember, is now out over the warm, open waters of the Atlantic Ocean. That means Hugo could pick up strength as it continues churning toward the U.S. mainland. A few minutes ago, we raised that possibility with Robert Sheets, director of the National Hurricane Center in Coral Gables, Florida.
Well, it's possible to regain a little bit of strength there, Dan. Through tomorrow as it moves over the open waters there just north of the Bahamas, maybe another 10 or 15 mile per hour winds.
And the chances that it hits the U.S. mainland, in your opinion?
It's getting greater chances right now. We're looking at a possibility anywhere from South Florida up through the Cape Hatteras area in about 2 to 3 days.
In Puerto Rico, tens of thousands of people are homeless tonight, and officials there are looking to Washington for some kind of help. Correspondent Doug Tennell reports on the destruction in the U.S. Commonwealth.
Puerto Rico began taking stock of Hurricane Hugo today, and it was not a pretty sight. After a flying tour of some of the hardest hit areas, Puerto Rico's governor said Hugo did $40 million worth of damage. but others say the figure is much higher. A small island off Puerto Rico's east coast named Culebra took a direct hit, and today the government estimated that 60% of all homes were destroyed there. Nearly 40,000 in all are believed to have lost their homes. It was a day for islanders to return to what was left of their neighborhoods, go back to their boats for a first look at what Hugo left in its wake. Despite a rush to restore electricity, so many power lines are down that workers say it will take weeks to restore full service. Most houses are without running water. Some have water all around them. Authorities appealed for sightseers to stay off the streets, but they were choked with traffic anyway. Along the hard-hit northeast coast, some towns and villages are still cut off by fallen debris. For the first time since Hurricane Hugo passed, the bulldozers reached the little fishing village of Las Carabas today, and when they did, they discovered there were parts of town that weren't just damaged, they were gone. The only thing left standing at Lucy Valdez's house were her kitchen cupboards. It used to be on a hill above the fishing port. She never believed a storm could be like this, she said. The washer, the dryer, everything is gone. Leo Calinaro's 40-foot trailer had been his pride and joy.
I don't feel, I feel very bad. I feel sorry. I love this place.
There may be disagreements about where Hurricane Hugo will go next, but here in Puerto Rico, there are no doubts about where it has been. Dan?
Doug, what kind of help do our fellow Americans in Puerto Rico need?
They need emergency aid right now, Dan. About 80% of the island, it was estimated this morning, is still without any kind of electricity. Some of that has been restored, but not much. The same goes for water, and the longer that situation continues, then the greater the risk of some kind of health problems arising.
And how much of any aid has arrived so far?
So far, we haven't seen much at all. We know that the government's been in contact with the authorities in the United States to try to get it in. But we have not seen it. And neither have we seen much activity by the National Guard here that's supposed to be helping out with the relief effort.
Doug Tennell in Puerto Rico, thanks. Forecasters are cautiously figuring tonight, trying to predict the course of Hugo as the hurricane casts an evil eye toward the U.S. mainland. There are a number of possibilities. At the storm's current speed, that is its progress speed, a low-pressure system over the southeast United States and a high out over the Atlantic could aim Hugo at the southern Atlantic coast by Friday. But if the hurricane slows up, the low moving toward the northeast could steer Hugo even more northward Saturday. Now, to make an educated guess at Hugo's future, forecasters are looking to the past and the course taken by other East Coast hurricanes. In 1960, you may remember, Hurricane Donna hit land in Florida, then barreled all the way up the east coast of the United States to Maine. That storm killed 148 people. 10 years ago, Hurricane David also came ashore in Florida and again in Georgia and South Carolina. It eventually died out up over Pennsylvania. Total death toll from Hurricane David in the Caribbean and the USA, 1,200. Now, unfortunately, there is another important storm tonight to tell you about, Tropical Storm Iris. It is down in the Caribbean, east of the Leeward Islands, that would include Antigua and Guadeloupe, about 700 miles behind Hugo and following a similar path. Iris has winds up to 70 miles an hour. It could become a full-blown hurricane with top winds of 74 miles an hour tomorrow. Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, meteorologist Neil Frank with his prediction for the path of Hurricane Hugo, and David Dow on a scientific theory that hurricanes, in my lifetime and yours and that of our children, may get bigger and meaner.
Why do you get great service from a MetLife rep? He's got terrific follow-through, answering tough questions. He's fast when it comes to paying claims. He's got lots of drive and power. And he makes neat saves when the going gets rough. It all adds up to advantage. MetLife. Get Met. It pays.
You are about to see the most important words in pain relief in 100 years. Motrin IB. No prescription needed. The doctor-recommended pain reliever in Motrin is now available in non-prescription strength Motrin IB. One Motrin IB is as effective as 2 regular aspirin for relief of headache and muscle ache, and much gentler on your stomach. New Motrin IB, tablets or caplets. Doctor-recommended pain relief.
Subaru apologizes to the residents of Casa Grande, Arizona for driving the new Subaru Legacy 60,000 miles in 19 days for a new world record. If you're listening, Casa Grande, thank you.
This is one of 570 million refund locations for American Express traveler's checks. Now you can get a refund virtually anywhere there's a phone, only from American Express traveler's checks. So if your bank doesn't carry them, go to one that does.
A search was mounted tonight for a missing French-American-made DC-10 jet. It was bound from the Congo to Paris with about 170 people on board, one of them said to be the wife of the U.S. ambassador to Chad. The flight disappeared shortly after a stopover in Chad. Airline officials said the last radio contact with the plane indicated that all was normal and the weather was good. In Washington, the Federal Aviation Administration again insisted to Congress today that the DC-10 is safe and fit to fly. Correspondent Mark Phillips reports the FAA nonetheless ordered special engine inspections on more than 200 DC-10 planes.
It was a Senate hearing that was more like a trial.
Why are those planes still flying after having so many problems?
The accused, the McDonnell Douglas DC-10, one of which disappeared over Chad today, another of which crashed in Sioux City, Iowa last July.
There is a growing lack of confidence in airline safety. A great deal of that concern is centered about the DC-10 aircraft.
Among the witnesses, the administrator of the FAA, who pronounced the plane safe, but who today announced a new directive requiring that all engines similar to the one that exploded on the Sioux City plane be given special ultrasonic inspections. The fan assembly of that engine is still missing, but an examination of other GE engines of the same generation found one flaw in the metal alloy they used, possibly causing the engine to explode. The FAA now says all those engines must be given a high-tech ultrasonic inspection over the next 5 months.
These inspections will add further assurance that the Sioux City tragedy will never happen again.
Yet doubts persist. Of the 446 DC-10 airframes built, 18 have been destroyed in accidents up to today. That's about double the accident rate of competing planes like the Boeing 747 and Lockheed L-1011. Yet no common cause has been found between the Sioux City crash and the 1979 crash in Chicago or the 1974 crash of a Turkish Airlines DC-10 in Paris. Only the Paris crash has been blamed on a design fault in the plane's control cables, which has since been fixed. Still, McDonnell Douglas has now made another design change. A new valve will be installed in the hydraulic system to prevent the total loss of hydraulic fluid, which led to the Sioux City crash. The DC-10 may well have more of a public relations than a design problem, but another incident in Chad today will do little to enhance the image of a plane, which, if not unsafe, seems certainly unlucky. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Washington.
The Labor Department reported today that consumer prices were unchanged in August thanks to a decline in gasoline and clothing prices. It's the first time in more than 3 years that the Consumer Price Index has not shown an increase.
We've studied your mouth from every angle and created a toothbrush with a very special angle, the Reach toothbrush, with a dental angle designed to clean even back teeth better, to get your teeth 51% cleaner than the other leading brush. Reach for 51% cleaner teeth.
I have a baby enough face as it is, and then when I put the baby shampoo on my hair, I get kidded an awful lot. It's not just a gentle shampoo because I think it's strong. I work hard, I get awfully dirty, and it still cleans my hair.
Johnson's baby shampoo, now also with conditioners.
It's never made me cry.
These people never thought of themselves as high-pressure salespeople. They've always been committed to service, and that's why they've become successful Better Homes and Gardens real estate agents, and why they use our proven real estate marketing systems to serve their customers better than anybody. After all, we've found that once you place service above everything, everything else falls into place. Learn more about a career in real estate. Call your local Better Homes and Gardens member firm during Career Week.
Now a great cherry taste comes to Maalox Strength. New Maalox Plus Cherry Cream Tablets with the medicine doctors recommend most and a cherry taste you'll love. New Maalox Plus Cherry Cream Tablets, strong relief for all your Maalox moments.
Ever since Unisom, people have abandoned their old sleep medicine because medical tests prove people fall asleep faster and sleep better all night with Unisom than without. Take Unisom for faster, better sleep.
Secretary of State Baker talked up some new flexibility today in U.S. arms control negotiations with the Soviets, apparently trying to position himself for talks later this week in Wyoming with Soviet Foreign Minister Shevardnadze. Baker said the U.S. might be willing under some circumstances to drop demands for a total ban on mobile nuclear missiles. Baker's statements today came amid growing criticism that President Bush is unwilling to make any bold moves on arms control or deal effectively with the changing face of communism in Europe. Border police say nearly 17,000 refugees have reached West Germany since Hungary opened its borders to East Germans more than a week ago. The East Germans enter Hungary on its western border. Meantime, on Hungary's eastern border, there's another, more furtive refugee movement. Tom Fenton has that story.
Patrols move uneasily along the border. Tension has been mounting recently. Refugees have been fleeing across the no man's land, and there are fears that an incident could touch off an exchange of fire. This looks like the classic East-West confrontation that keeps the armies of NATO and the Warsaw Pact on their toes. But it's not what it seems. The armed guards who eye each other on both sides of the frontier are members of the Warsaw Pact. This is the Hungarian-Romanian border. On the other side of this fence is the part of Romania where the majority of the population is of Hungarian origin. The refugees who flee across this border risk being shot by Romanian border guards and have to pass through newly erected concrete and barbed wire barriers. As the limits of freedom are enlarged here in Hungary, the Iron Curtain, in effect, has shifted eastwards. Across the border, the clock has been put back to Stalinist times. Romania's dictator, Nicolae Ceausescu, runs the most repressive regime in Eastern Europe. Forced labor is being used to turn Bucharest into a monument to his ego. An export drive to pay off foreign debts is emptying stores and reducing the countryside to near famine. Ethnic Hungarians suffer the most. Ceausescu is trying to stamp out their customs, culture, and language. Their schools have been closed and their villages earmarked for destruction. 7,000 have fled across the border so far this year to the relative freedom of Hungary. They escape individually or in small family groups. This carpenter and his wife kissed the first Hungarian sign they saw when they reached safety. It was a savings bank. Most refugees asked us not to show their faces. They fear repercussions for relatives left behind. Hungarian border guards no longer send them back to almost certain imprisonment and torture. They are under orders from the new liberal Hungarian regime to welcome these illegal immigrants as refugees. The political map of Europe is being redrawn here. And the new frontier between freedom and fear is likely to be less stable than the old Iron Curtain that divided Europe for more than 40 years. Tom Fenton, CBS News, on the Hungarian-Romanian border.
The Vatican spoke out today for the first time on the controversy over the convent near the Auschwitz death camp in Poland. The Vatican said the convent should be moved, as some Jewish groups have insisted, and that it will help pay for the relocation. Jewish leaders in this country hailed the announcement, saying it will help heal Jewish-Catholic relations, which were badly damaged by the controversy.
You're up.
I'm sleeping.
You were walking.
I was walking in my sleep.
Have your coffee.
Hey, yours is darker than mine.
Mine's decaffeinated Folgers crystals. Yours is the decaffeinated you always drink.
Did you use the same amount?
Yeah, watch. Mine's mountain grown Folgers.
Nice aroma.
A sip?
Yeah. I thought I was the reason you're always so bright-eyed in the morning.
Oh, you are.
Decaffeinated Folgers crystals. So dark and rich, shouldn't you switch?
Sure, these new honey-made graham snacks are delicious and wholesome, but give us bees a break. Stop eating so many. What are you doing? You know how many bee hours go into one box? Put that down. These crunchy little graham snacks have made our lives nothing but work.
Relax, have a snack.
You guys!
Hey, apple cinnamon's not bad. Got any honey and oat bran?
Honey-made honeycomb graham snacks. They've got everyone buzzing.
Hey, honey and oat bran's not bad. Got any apple cinnamon?
With arthritis, there's pain, and then there's pain. For relief, there's aspirin, and then there's Anacin. The Anacin aspirin formula has more medicine than regular aspirin.
That's not relief. That's relief.
Anacin.
To rise above worry and uncertainty, 40 million Americans have placed their trust in the Travelers, its independent insurance agents and brokers, to help provide financial peace of mind. You're better off under the umbrella.
China's communist dictator Deng Xiaoping, the man who crushed the movement for freedom and democracy, was seen in public again today, only the second time in 3 months. He reportedly laughed about rumors of his possible serious illness and even death. This came during a conversation in which Deng talked tough and struck a threatening note. John Sheehan reports from Beijing.
Supreme Leader Deng Xiaoping told a Japanese visitor today that sanctions like those applied by the United States after the Tiananmen massacre will backfire. China is not afraid of sanctions, said the frail 85-year-old leader. They will rebound on those imposing them. Despite Deng's confidence, even under martial law, the communist government is deeply worried about the smoldering resistance of its own people.
When Deng Xiaoping dies, it could bring in the most brute interface between power and the populace that we've seen yet in China.
Amidst preparations for the 40th anniversary of the communist state, the government is attempting to stamp out lingering notions about freedom. Last June, the symbol of the democracy movement, the Students' Statue of Liberty, was destroyed by armor. At about the same spot, the government is putting up its own statue depicting a model worker, soldier, scientist, and farmer. The propaganda department is trying to erase forbidden ideas with thoughts approved by the government, to wipe out the memory of the goddess of democracy with an official statue glorifying communist ideals. For fear of sabotage, even workers getting the square ready for the October 1st holiday cannot enter without showing a pass. No bundles or bags are permitted. The nearby Museum of the Revolution, a main staging area of the troops who assaulted the square, is again a military command post. 100,000 carefully screened singers and dancers will perform for Deng Xiaoping and the other leaders. According to one reliable report, every fourth participant will be a plainclothes policeman. John Sheehan, CBS News, Beijing.
The world's top sailing trophy was returned to the United States today. A New York State appeals court gave the 1988 America's Cup back to the U.S. San Diego Yacht Club, reversing a lower court decision that had awarded the cup to New Zealand.
Thousands of years ago, the world was introduced to a vehicle that could hold plenty of cargo and travel in some of the worst weather. This year, history repeats itself. The new four-wheel drive Subaru Legacy Wagon. After thousands of years, man still can't improve the weather, only the way he travels through it.
See your Subaru dealer for details on the special value lease program.
Did you know that certain kinds of diet frozen foods get 40, even 50% of their calories from fat? Fat! Eat smarter. The one you can trust is Le Menu Lifestyle. Every serving is under 300 calories, helps you limit sodium, cholesterol, and is low fat. The only thing we didn't touch is the taste. Le Menu Lifestyle. Eat smarter.
The pain was everywhere. The doctor said there was no serious damage. He gave me a different medicine, Inuprin. Worked great. Know what else? For my tough headaches, 2 Nuprins stop headache pain better than extra-strength Tylenol.
Nuprin. Little, yellow, different, better.
Crosswords and croissants mean Sunday breakfast at our house, complemented by the rich, fresh flavor of Sunsweet pitted prunes.
Sunsweet, an 8-letter word that means delicious. Only one prune tastes unsweet.
CBS News and this CBS station will be tracking Hurricane Hugo closely tonight and throughout the week as it continues to head for the U.S. East Coast. A quick review now, looking at the map. Right now, Hurricane Hugo is 185 miles northeast of Grand Turk Island and moving toward the northwest at 12 miles an hour. It's skidding past these islands and possibly the Bahamas. They'll get hit hard, but skidding to the north of them. The storm is expected to continue moving in that general direction at that speed for the next 24 hours, passing north of the Turks and Caicos Islands and then brushing past the Bahamas. It's also expected that a hurricane watch officially will be issued sometime tomorrow, serving notice that Hugo could hit land somewhere between Miami and Cape Hatteras, North Carolina by Friday. You know, some experts are predicting that in years to come, we and our children may be hit by even more deadly hurricanes. The theory is that the polluting ways of humans are to blame. David Dow explains.
As bad as Hugo is, the hurricanes of the future could be worse. That, at least, is the controversial conclusion of some scientists who've studied the greenhouse effect, the global warming that may occur as man pours more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere.
It is possible that if we experience a greenhouse effect warming over the next 50 years, that the tropical ocean temperatures will rise by a few degrees. And if this happens, it is quite possible that we would see more intense hurricanes.
Last year's Hurricane Gilbert, packing winds up to 200 miles an hour, is thought to represent the upper limit of hurricane intensity. But heat the tropical waters by, say, 4 degrees, and the increased energy, says Dr. Emanuel, could drive the winds of a super hurricane to 240 miles an hour.
But it really boils down to an increased potential for the destructive forces of the winds and the waves when the hurricane hits land.
It all seems logical to some who've worried about the greenhouse effect.
We should consider this as a reasonable possibility that needs more attention, more work, and possibly changes in our policy.
But others, including federal weather experts, are skeptical, saying ocean warming could be offset by other climatic influences.
There are other factors that would come into play that aren't included in that model. And that's why the model is probably inadequate.
There's reason to hope that the ocean warming scenario is wrong or will never take place. In theory, anyway, a 2-degree heating of the waters that spawned Hurricane Hugo could have increased its destructive power by up to 30%. David Dow, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Joining us now from Houston is Dr. Neil Frank, former director of the National Hurricane Center, now chief meteorologist for CBS affiliate KHOU in Houston and a CBS News consultant. Dr. Frank, your best guess, this hurricane dissipates and goes away or hits the U.S. mainland?
Well, I don't think it's going to dissipate, Dan, not in the late September, as you know, with your background in hurricanes. And I think you've well described it, a limited night. Someplace from northeast Florida on up to the Outer Banks of Carolina is probably going to see the impact of this storm. Now, there's a river of air that's blowing over top of the storm right now that would suggest that the storm would go straight to the north. The dilemma tonight is that that river is probably going to change its course, and as it does so, it looks like the river is going to blow from the southeast towards the northwest, and if it does, this storm is going to approach the southeast U.S. before the weekend.
And what are the odds that it can just go away, blow out to sea? Maybe 35, 40%?
Oh, no, I'd put it a lot less than that. I would say 5 or 10%. I think it's a lot higher probability that someplace in the southeast U.S. is going to feel the brunt of this storm.
Dr. Neil Frank, thanks. We'll be back in touch. For the CBS Evening News, Dan Rather. Stay tuned for this station for more hurricane information. We'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.
Tomorrow on CBS This Morning, the latest on Hurricane Hugo, plus Gerald McRaney, Major Dad, and rock superstar Paula Abdul on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.